Well, it is a pleasure to be here. I hope everyone is having a great Activate Summit. I am so excited to be here. And as mentioned, we're going to be talking about booked and banked, crafting your value proposition that's going to get you on more stages, and better yet, how it can monetize your business on the back end. So before I begin, I just like to get a kind of a pulse of where everybody is right now. How many of you would say, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest? You can put this in the chat box. Where would you rate yourself in terms of, getting more paid speaking opportunities from conferences? So when I say conferences, this could be industry B2B, B2C conferences, entrepreneurial conferences, could be could be nonprofit type events, that type of thing. What would you rank yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 of where you're generating more speaking engagements from them, and better yet, getting paid, and then even more so, paid for what you do in your business on the back end? What would that look like? We got a couple. Well, we got numbers coming in 1, 5, 1. I'm just looking at here. All right, 6. We got a couple 5. Okay. All right. So that's fine. This is good. So we know where everybody is. So we're gonna help change that. We're gonna help change that to make that go from the lower half, in this case below 5, to where we can get up now closer to 10. So before we begin, I just wanted to share some information. First and foremost, I'm a family man. I'm a dedicated father to my son CJ, who is now first year at Coastal Carolina, and my beloved wife Maria, who has supported me throughout these years. Not only as a husband, but also as a speaker. And it's been an inspiration for me in a lot of things I do. And I'm going to be sharing a lot of insights as being a professional speaker on leading industry B2B, B2C stages now for over 26 years, 32 years in total. So I'm going to be sharing in the short time that we have together this insight that's going to help you do the same if you choose to do so. So let's take a look at and start to begin. First off, we got to know what the challenge is. Why aren't some speakers, or speakers in general, not getting booked? Well, here's the thing. A lot of times we've been led to believe it's just our story. It's our story that's going to get us booked. It's our story that's going to connect and what's going to get that next speaking opportunity, or it's going to generate more business in consulting, coaching, or any products that you may be, and so on. But here, what I'm about to share with you is, it's not also why there's certain speakers that are in demand, or why, for some reason you feel like you're not uniquely positioned correctly to be found, or, in this case, embraced by meeting planners. See, the question is, it's not about you standing out, or how you are, seen online, or even if you're with the speaker bureau. It's about your positioning. Okay, so you're asking, what does that mean? See, it's not about you. It's about them. It's about the audience they serve. And you're going to learn here that when you can position yourself to be that source, that authority that aligns with what is really important to them, that core challenge that can be better in their industry, the results they seek and don't have, and not only for the industry itself, but also for the association or the event itself, in terms of positioning yourself as the right speaker for them. Not only that's going to put butts in seats, but even more so that you're going to really get the audience engaged with something that keeps them up at night, that you're going to be a source that's going to help them, steer them in the right direction to get the results they seek. So it's all about positioning. So let that sink in. It's not about what you do, how you do it, and how you stand out. I'm not saying those things are not important. It's even more important how you position yourself to be aligned with the audience that you serve. So let's take a look at what that means. So the real problem, as I mentioned, isn't visibility. It's misalignment. So we talked about positioning, and then it's about alignment. So the key is that you have to be able to align yourself to the sources that you want to speak to. So the first step is to identify who is your audience. Who is that audience you're serving? 9 out of 10 businesses, this includes solopreneurs as well, assume they know their audience. Now, you may know your audience, of course, on a major level, but you may not know your audience like you think you do. This is why it's imperative to really, do the research on your audience, do the research on those conferences you are planning to talk at that can put you in front of that audience. You have to know a lot about what's important to them. You have to be able to know that, again, with what your content and what you're sharing is going to align with that. So in this case, you have to do some research. You have to look at the show sites. You have to look at the association, get to know the people behind it, the people who run the day-to-day, the people who are on their boards, who are some of the major players in that industry that you can find out some of this information, that you could go out and just reach out to them on LinkedIn or some other social media platform to build a relationship, to connect, to get this information. Not letting them know you want to just speak at their conference, just letting them know that, hey, I'm doing some research, that I want to gather some information because I'm preparing some content around workshops, a keynote, and other talks, and your input could be quite valuable to that. But even where you can even start first is on a macro level. How many of you have Perplexity Pro as a resource tool? Let me see if we got anybody here. Anybody got and somebody said go coastal. Yeah, I love it. How many of you are using Perplexity Pro? AI tool. Yes or no? No. Nope. We got a lot of people saying no. Yes. Some people say one yes. We got a lot of no's. First thing you got to do is get your hands on Perplexity Pro. It'll be the best $200 you've ever spent for the year. Here's why. What's great about Perplexity, and ChatGPT is fine too, it's just that Perplexity is really known for its research. It goes very deep, so you don't have to have top of the line Perplexity, but you can get the next version, Perplexity Pro, for about $200 a year. And what it's going to do is, if you know how to prompt it correctly, now, which I won't be able to have the time to show you how to do that here, that would be another talk, but you can now gather this research substantiated by actual facts, right from sources that if you were to Google it, would take you hours just to sort through to get this information, that you could get it in laser fast within seconds to get this information. This will give you now a foundation to work from to identify where there's an alignment. Where can you position your content now to what's really important to them? What is that challenge that they have that can be better? The results they seek and don't have. Not only to the industry and the audience that you're serving in that industry, but also with the show itself, because the show could be struggling with retention issues with attendees. We want to know about that too. So these are the things that are going to be important in how you align your content. So let's take a look at how this is going to give you the formula to get booked, paid, and banked. So if you want consistent paid bookings, you're going to have to know your audience. Number one, you got to research that audience. You're going to have to know their pain points, the challenges that can be better, the results they seek and don't have. Go and talk to some people in that industry or industries. Talk to some of the people that are in the day-to-day that put on the event. Get some of this information that you can gather on a micro level, and then also with the Perplexity Pro or even ChatGPT, where now we can get it on a macro level. So now that we have a better understanding of what's important to them, is going to put you in a better position now to how to align your content when you send an abstract. How many of you are familiar with abstracts? Speaker abstract. That's not a speaker one sheet, by the way. A lot of you have been led to believe that you lead with your signature talk itself. No, you lead with the content that aligns in positions to what's important to them. Somebody says yes. Okay, great. So the key in getting booked to speak is going to be through that abstract. When you fill out that abstract, you're going to be able to align the content from the title to the description to the takeaways that are going to align to that challenge that can be better in the results they seek. You are now have just increased your percentage of getting possibly now selected to speak. Now, here's the thing about industry conferences. They're not always going to pay you to speak. Some of them don't. Now, the key is not to just look at if they're not paying you to speak. The key is who is in that audience now that you can now influence, that can now hire you to speak at their conference from there and speak at their company where they will pay you your rate. So think of the industry conferences as kind of like a stepping stone. It's going to position you as a platform in front of your captive audience in one room to now generate more speaking engagements, workshops, could be virtual summits like this. And all of those things could lead to other things like coaching, consulting, and so on, products or services that you sell. It's connecting the dots. This is how you make money. I did this with a radiology conference 9 years ago where they had rejected me for 2 years because I was not from the industry. But I kept going back with abstracts that really aligned to their challenge, to the results they seek. They finally gave me an opportunity on a summit just like this. And I was the last speaker of the day. Now, I did such a great job on that summit that they finally made an exception and asked me to speak at their Leadership Climb Summit, which was in person. I got another great rating. I was an outsider. And from there, they invited me to speak at their annual conference. Now, up to that point, I had not generated any revenue yet. I put a lot of my own sweat equity up to that point. Now, this being said, from there, I got my first executive coaching client. They asked me to come back and speak at the Climb Summit and at their annual conference. Now, that was like almost 9 years ago, as I mentioned. I've been speaking there ever since at both conferences each year. I'm a certified speaker with them, and I'm the go-to executive coach in the radiology leadership industry for this association, and I've generated multi-six figures in revenue through speaking, not just paid to speak, but also mostly on the back end through workshops, keynotes, and other types of speaking arrangements from that one event. Why not you? So let's take a look at how we can make that happen. So the secret is we got to start with the value proposition. And a value proposition is not about what you do and what makes you unique. It's about them. What is the challenge, again, they have that could be better? That common core challenge where Perplexity Pro can give it to you on a macro level. Hearing it from the horse's mouth with a select few people in your audience that can substantiate that. What are the results they seek and don't have as well? And now you're taking your talk and you're not using the title or description or takeaways verbatim. You're tweaking it and adapting that title to the challenge that could be better, to the results they seek. That's the hook. That gets them maybe now that possibly they're going to select you over 50 other people that submitted for that category that you're going to now fill that spot to speak on. Your description has to do the same thing. You got to cater to that challenge that could be better, the results they seek, and including the takeaways. And using an action word like discover, apply, reactivate, whatever, stay away from common terms like understand and learn. That stuff doesn't work anymore. Use some words that are going to take the challenge, turn it into an opportunity, and then an opportunity into the result. That's more likely going to increase your percentage of getting selected. And then how you leverage that content when you are selected, when you're actually speaking, you're neurologistically also doing the same thing. Asking questions, disguising the impact in the question, getting them engaged, getting them to think about, is this really a challenge that should become a priority for me to improve upon? Are those the results I'm actually seeking, and are they now a priority? Because if they are, they're more likely going to bring you up to speak for them. Do a workshop. Maybe perhaps they're going to it could lead to coaching and consulting immediately or after you speak for their organization. This is how I've been able to connect the dots to get booked continuously, get paid on the front end, and then also make even more money on the back end in my business. I don't have to network probably most of the time. I don't even have to network. You can do this too. You just have to learn that it's not all about how you show up and look and about your signature talk and about your one sheet and speaker reel itself. Is it adapting to, again, what's important to them with that challenge and that result? So I just want to make sure we go through all the things. So this is a summary of the alignment to get selected. Again, you want to cater your description, your title, description, and the takeaways on that abstract. Go a step further in breaking down how you're going to go about doing this and why you're doing this and how to get the audience involved to now turn that challenge into an opportunity and a result. When you're able to now, position that correctly, and now you're better aligned, you're more likely going to get selected. And by doing that, you can connect the dots to more opportunities. I just see a couple questions that I'll make sure that I answer for everybody on the back end. I will definitely do that. So here's some 3 steps. Here's some steps to apply when you're going to a meeting planner. Again, we talked about doing the research, very, very important. Aligning yourself, positioning that content to their challenge and to the results, as we mentioned. But it's very important to do that research up front. LinkedIn provides a wealth of information on individuals, even organizations, including Perplexity Pro, as I mentioned. So here's how you can get into the decision maker's mind, just to get a little reminder of how you can position your content on the abstract. So the key here is to speak to solve a challenge. You're not here to sell. You're not, even if you're speaking at an event where you're not going to sell, but you're trying to influence them. It's better to influence them through the challenge that can be better, the results they seek. Empower them to sell themselves. When you're able to, I can remember just even 6 months ago, I had a guy come into a breakout session. I wasn't even doing a keynote. I was doing a breakout, and he said, "Chris, when I came in here, I thought I was going to check out, just check my emails, just get my CE credits and leave. And then you opened up with something that caught my attention. By the end of that hour, there was a challenge that got into his head that he'd even realized was a challenge in his business. At the end of the hour, it was now in the top 3 of his priorities. And the results that I aligned it to were also in the top 3. Now, it took a little bit of nurturing, but that eventually led to a workshop. I did a keynote for them, and then eventually more consulting and coaching. It generated far more revenue on the back end than I did getting paid on the front end with that formula that I've shared with you. This is what leads to more conversions. So if you want real results for real alignment, you got to send out abstracts. Simple as that. You send out a few abstracts a month, probably not going to get really anything in return. You send out 20, 25 a month, well, that's a numbers game, right? It's going to eventually land you more opportunities. See the industry conferences as a way to put you in front of a captive audience after you've researched and substantiated the audience you're going to serve. That's going to get you more paid speaking opportunities, more workshops, more business on the back end. So here's a quick action plan. You could all take a look at that, and you're all going to get a copy of these slides, I hope, and you can use this as just a reference point. And remember this, it's all about alignment. Communicate that continuously to meeting planners, event organizers, to the audience that you're serving across the touch points that they're interacting with content. This could be on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, or any industry sources. It also will help you to solidify you as a subject matter expert so that you're constantly delivering. So it's your turn now to get booked and banked. Learn how to align your message today. Position yourself for greatness and just trust the process. It takes time, but I can tell you it can make a world of difference in your speaking career and most importantly, in your business and the people that you can impact. So let's get out there, get booked, get paid, and bank it and share it with somebody else to do the same. So what about any questions that we have here? I want to make, it says, request those words to use instead again. Repeat those words. I'm not sure what words. So again, the key to getting booked is knowing your audience. Understand your audience. You want to position the title of your talk around the challenge that can be better, the results they seek and don't have for that audience you're serving. That's more likely to get selected versus some cookie cutter title that you've used or you think that you could apply to anything. That usually does not work. That's not going to get you booked as much to speak. You have to adapt your title to what is important to them, to that challenge that can be better, the results they seek. The description, the same way. And then also the takeaways. You're starting with an action word. That could be, discover or, apply, those types of words. Words that imply action. Words like understand and learn usually don't help too much.
Got it. Got it. And then Elizabeth is asking, what should we use instead?
So instead, like use the words like discover, things that are going to get them to now take action on, apply. You could say reactivate or something, whatever it is, other than learn and understand. You want something that's going to take them to where they can turn the challenge into an opportunity and then an opportunity into a result. So I would research certain action keywords even around certain industries that you're applying to speak, and use those types of words in your takeaways or learning objectives.
Got it. And then someone here, thanks Elizabeth for that question. Then someone here is asking, Bloom. What is? Have you ever heard this utility called Bloom before, Christopher?
What's it called?
Bloom. BL, just
Bloom.
like a flower. BLOOM.
No, I have not.
Interesting. There's so many good tools out there. So are there
Oh
just
yeah,
as
there's
we
plenty of them.
so you mentioned the AI tool that you use. If anybody, are there any other, in with this world of AI now, are there any other kind of tools that you use to help with this process besides AI, or in addition to another AI?
I would say any of industry sources. So it depends on what industries you're serving, and so you want to look at the get caught up on industry jargon. Read up on that industry, because that's what's going to position you as that someone that they see you as a subject matter expert, someone that understands them. I gave you an example of the radiology conference. I'm not a radiologist. I am not in the business of selling radiology equipment. I'm in the business of as an EQ and communication specialist and how to bring winning teams together. That's something that was a challenge for radiology departments. They had low retention. There was a lot of dysfunction, and I was able now to finally get captured their attention in with that this format that I just showed you. That finally got me selected from the outside, and that was like almost 9 years ago. And to this day, I speak every year at their leadership climb and their annual conference, and I've generated a lot of revenue both on the front and back end doing that same formula.
So you put
So
in your time, and eventually it was worth it.
it's worth it. But again, this is not going to work in every circumstance. So I want to be forthright. You have to do your research. You got to know your audience, and there's going to be some industries or some events that may not pay off, and you just got to live and learn and move on.
Right. Those are the ones I think we've all been presented, or our organization has come back to us and said, "Hey, would you love to speak to us? Here's a buffet ticket. Here's a
Yeah.
buffet ticket. It's not even a great buffet or the exposure." And my counter to that is you can die as a speaker from exposure. So
Yeah, if I had more time, I would have gone. I would have, if I had more time, I would have spoke on how to leverage your content when you're actually speaking. There's an art and science to that, and how you do that. That would be down to personality types in the room, generational types, cultural and ethnic types where English is not the first language, body language, eye contact, tone of voice.
okay.
I didn't have time to go on. I could possibly fit all that in. Where when you can learn how to do that based upon the type of industry that you're speaking to, can build higher engagement and more likely get more people to come up to you afterwards. That's going to lead to more opportunities to connect the dots.